everybody. Desiray Emerton. I am the Mvhayv, but I do this Friday hybrid class, which is online. We have some students that are online and in class. This is the second class of a 6-week course, and this is module 2. So we did go over a lot in module 1, how to say our Mvskoke sounds, and we went over what people call the alphabet. We have some of our speakers that said the sounds. But for those of us who did not grow up in the language, it makes sense to say the alphabet. So if you see it anywhere, it says Mvskoke sounds, it is the alphabet. All right. So thank you for coming. Let's see, like I said, we've already covered the Mvskoke sounds, but how many can get online and see Google Drive? How many? All right, so we have a Google Drive where all of module 1 and module 2 are available if you guys need to come and refresh or look at it or practice. I like to put a lot of my lessons with our speakers' voices, so you can go back at any time you want, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, just go online and practice. And I ask that you just practice the sounds and practice saying the words. All right. So we haven't done this in a while, so we're going to go ahead and sing our song. This is our Hallelujah song. I think I have her, since we had covered this in module 1, there's some things you guys may not have if you didn't take module 1. But the words are right here. The ones in blue are the Mvskoke. The ones, the breakdown right here in red is phonetically. So if you can't quite understand Mvskoke yet, or how to pronounce it, it's phonetically. And then the black line is what it's actually saying. As when I learn something, I actually like to learn what I'm, understand what I'm learning, understanding what I'm saying. I don't want to start saying something and think it's one thing and find out it's not. There's some goofy people that would do that. All right, so let me all right, and those of you who are online, I don't have your picture up here today, but if you need to, just unmute and just, ask a question or type it in the chat room. All right, so let me see, make sure. Make sure I am recording. There we go. And we will see. All right. We like to sing our songs or sing songs to get our mouth and our mind thinking in Mvskoke and to feel the strength of our Mvskoke words. I don't know if you can feel the strength and just some of these hymns that we hear, but that's part of our culture, our words, our Mvskoke words. And if you've ever heard anybody talk about language, language is our culture. Our culture is the language. So if we lose that, that's part of ourselves that we lose that, we may never be able to get back. there are not a lot of speakers, so we're trying to reach out and to get everybody involved to speak the language. So, and one of the things, like I said, is the hymns that we hear. All right, so let's go ahead and let me just refresh a little bit for those of you who are new. How many on the new people that have never attended before? How many of you know the sounds and the Mvskoke? Kind of. Okay.
Right, alphabet.
Yeah, the alphabet, the sounds. Okay. All right, that's good. So you guys are one step ahead of some of us who weren't familiar with that. Let me give you a little brief background on myself. I grew up in Oklahoma City. I'm Creek-Seminole and Choctaw. I'm more Creek, however, I am in Washington. That was when I was a child, so you know, mom made the decision, but you know, I embrace all of my tribes and all of, you know, everything, because that's who I am. You know, if you're part of this and that, and my kids are half Native and then half Caucasian. So, but I tell them embrace everything. I mean, I'm not going to say leave one part of yourself out, because that's who makes you who. You know, that makes you yourself. And not everybody's the same. So I always, even though I'm not, you know, I don't identify as being a Staheki, I have like pinky finger that maybe there's some Staheki in there. But you know, I embrace, you know, I embrace that too. Like, okay, you know, that's a strength that I'm not familiar with. I'm more familiar with my Stajati, my native strength. But I grew up not speaking the language so much other than Kozi, you know, Iva, dog, cat, you know, Mvhayv, everybody knows that. Yeah. So every now and then on Christmas and Thanksgiving, we'd have a couple aunts that would sit there and speak the language, and you'd always hear them fussing at each other. And I don't know, I can now remember some of the words is jumpy. She wanted to, you know, and she was wanting a sweet, jump up. And then something was hot and hey. So I just remember barely a little bit. So that's where I came from. I was military. I served 13 years in the military, in the Air Force. So we were out. We just came back in about 2020. Our family moved back. And around that time, I started thinking about learning the language and culture. And so I started looking in Oklahoma City, thinking, oh, something's going to be here, and there's not a lot of places to teach Mvskoke Creek in Oklahoma City or even abroad. So I jumped into it. I went to College of Mvskoke Nation in Oklahoma and learned there, and I also learned at a local college. You can ask me after, and I'll tell you. I'll tell you the name. But there's a local college that had a Creek one. I went to there and I learned. So it's kind of like I've learned more academically, but now that I'm working with the Mvhayv and the speakers, and I'm learning the essence of our language, and I always tell everybody it's almost like a soup or a stew. You can get it out of a can, and yeah, it tastes good. But then when you go to one of these good restaurants, you know, 5-star chicken noodle soup or some kind of stew, they've got those ingredients, which is just like, oh my gosh, so good. And that's what I like in our language to be, you know, to fully embrace it. You got to hear the sounds and the tones. And I talk to our Mvhayvs, and they're talking about, you got to understand the sounds and the tones. And let me give you an example. We were at a conference recently, and I heard somebody say, totally, which is wind. Totally. I understood what they said, but if you think about it, and a speaker says totally. So you can say totally, but there's no O sound in Mvskoke. So that's why I try to embrace the Mvskoke words and the sounds, and that's why I always kind of try. And you can catch me sometimes. I'll have to step back and think, say that, and I have to go through the alphabet, G, you know, and I have to do that. But it's fine, you know, as long as we're learning and going forward. But you know, I heard them saying totally. You know, one of the speakers were here. She would be like,
And that's it.
totally. Yeah. And then same thing with Holati, which is, he said, or they said Holati, and it was blue, it was Holati. See, just little subtle differences can make you think of, okay, canned soup or gourmet, fresh goods, so you hear that, just the little nuances of our language. So that's what I try to teach. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. You just stop me and I'll stop and try to refresh what we're talking about. All right, this is, let's see if I can. All right, get the notes out. It says, lick it up, to run. And I haven't spoken a lot today, so my mouth and my tongue is just kind of, I have to refresh, like I said. I'm still doing the words of the day. I don't know if you guys are on Instagram, but they have me doing words of the day. So I was doing that today. So I'm not speaking a lot today. I was doing a lot of putting things together. I know for March, we did the words for the tobacco story, how tobacco came to our native people. If we have time, I can show you later. I can get on here. But it was the tobacco story, like Fiji, Fiji. It was, I've been thinking about the HECE, Fiji. And that was, I don't remember now, and I can see the picture. I think it was it's like a prayer or something sacred. It's talking about tobacco. And then, like I said, I can show you that after we go through this. And then the second set of words was for April, and that was a hymn, So that was there. Now we're doing Putzko Ofki, which is great dumpling. So that's there. And for May, we are going to do the sounds, Mvskoke sounds. So those of you who are on Instagram, that will be out there. So you can go back and refresh, hey, how does A sound? Ah, it'll be there. Ah. And what I'm trying to do is capture as many people as I can, because like a lot of us, we haven't heard or grown up in the language. So I use the word Oklahoma. That's where you get the Mvskoke sound from the English word Oklahoma. And then, and we will also use the Mvskoke word ayo, or afutchki. Ayo is hot, afutchki is happy. It's just learning all these new vocabulary words. All right, so let's go to this paper. Let's get out to run. Nojara, sleep. Legera. Remember the A? Legera. Legera to sit. Gikavida to walk. Walkida. That's supposed to be a V, not a B. Walkida to lie down. Akopanida to play. Okanida to dance. Tauskida to jump. You make sure I am sharing here. Sometimes it does not want to share. All right, so those are our part of our new infinitive verbs. And infinitive verbs are like to run. So you go from to run to I am running, you are running, and we are running. So that's how we conjugate. And I know we went over it module 1. I just wanted to refresh. Let's keep going over. I know. That's just one of the things to learn. You have to keep repeating. How many times did you have to go sing the alphabet song to learn English? Sing, count to 10 to learn 1 through 10 and further. All right, so this is the one I was thinking. So our sentences are subject verb or subject object verb. Right now, I'm showing you subject verb, and the reason why I'm showing you this is because we're making very, very simple sentences. You've got to start at the very beginning, very simple sentences. The student is running. If you want to repeat, go by teacher, yes. Okay, the student is running. And I will show you in a few minutes how to conjugate because I know not everybody understands the conjugation. Ladies, the judge is sitting. Okay. Ofachicha is the judge. Is sitting is ladies. Because he is sitting or she is sitting. And Doka Asnija Taskas, the fireman is jumping.
I think,
You can't get that one. It just comes with practice. Don't worry about it. I mean, everybody's gonna club up. Even some of the first speakers, when I ask them to help me and I record them, sometimes they have to go over it a couple times, you know, because we don't say all these words every day. All right. Mvhayv openness. The teacher is dancing, and I've seen a lot of that this week because it was the last week for some of the schools. So they, of course, they were like, yay. All right. And then Chapova Adrotka Yakapis, the farmer is walking. No. So you put the subject and the verb. The verb is always last, and that's when you conjugated it to the farmer is walking. He is walking, she is walking. Here's another subject verb, and you can, you know, a lot of names are for a lot of the first speakers. They don't say the names, like Mary. They said they call it creepish, or they kind of put it in creep. So Mary, I know, is mealy, because you know when they were speaking, they didn't have like Mary, all of those sounds are not, you know, originally native sounds. So they would creeplish. But for our learning, we're going to say the English word. Alan is running. Tom is sitting. Madison is jumping. Troy is dancing. Maggie, you've got this. Maggie is walking. That's why I put that on there, because I know we're still learning and we don't know how to preposition everything. And for a lot of little girls, I was told that they say Tava, which is better. Tava is doing this, Tava. So if you hear that, and then sometimes, of course, Javon, Hopti, Hopdoji, Chivani, you know, that's.
And you said if they had the name Javon, what do you like to say their name like? If that's their name, Javon.
There's different ways to say Javon as a name. I've seen it Gebon, and it's kind of funny because there's no G in Mvskoke. I've seen it Cebon, and I've seen different ways. And then it's just like any other name, you know. You can spell like my name, Desiray. You can spell Desiray, Desiree, Dsirai. So a name is just it has no rules.
Right. Some days when I get in a hurry, I'll say, I forget my little boy's name, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Shabani, Hopti, Hopdoji, you know. So this is what I was showing you. This is where we're getting to. These are infinitives on how to do something, infinitive verbs, and this is how we learn to conjugate them. And this is how we're doing it. Subject, verb. Subject is the student is running. The subject is the judge, he is sitting or she is sitting. We have women judges. And okay. And then the fireman is jumping, he is jumping, she is jumping. So that's why I wanted to show you guys this, the relevance of conjugating. All right. Let's see. All right, so now we've learned to conjugate, and let's see, are there rules of conjugation in here? Did I print them out? No, all of them. Okay. All right, so those of you who were not here in module 1 or last week, know the rules of conjugation. I will briefly go over them, because I don't have them printed out for you guys. I will show you step by step. And I can get you a copy later. Okay, step by step, like walk it up, to lie down. You guys got that paper? Walk it up. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Can you ask Jennifer to make about 5 copies? You guys have your copies? Yes. Okay. So she's gonna make a copy of the rules, and I'm gonna go over them while she is. Just go straight all the way to the front. Okay, walk it up. To lie down. And this is an easy way that I learned to conjugate, and when I present this to the Mvhayvs that have grown up in the language, it completely confuses them because they grew up in the language, they grew up hearing it, they didn't have somebody sat them down and say, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2. So this is how I learned, and like I said, this is how a lot of people who have not grown up in the language, it makes it a little easier because we're used to doing the steps. You know, like in you always think about math, long math, you know, 1 + 1, 1 + 2, and they go on down. All right, walk it, lie down. The first step is you drop the ETV and it creates the verb stem. There's your verb stem, W-A-K-K, the verb stem. And according to the rules, and she's getting a copy for those of you guys who need it, is A in this one is the final vowel. So you put a long mark over, so it just lengthens the vowel. It doesn't change the sound, it just lengthens the final vowel. And then we add the first person marker. The first person marker is I. So walk, and then I, because we're talking about I am doing something. I'm going to walk, I'm going to run, I'm going to sit. Then you add your S, which is the declarative marker, meaning am, are, is, and also means the period. So these are your steps that you're going to do to conjugate, to lie down, all the way to I am lying down. So here is your verb stem, walk, the verb stem, your person marker I, your declarative ending is S, which means am, are, is, and also means the period. So walk is, that A sound, walk is. So you just conjugated from to lie down, walk it up, to walk it. I am lying down. All right. And like I said, there's a lot of repetition in this because I'm trying to get you guys to understand the conjugation. And like I said, she's getting those papers printed off, so you'll see the step. If you need a paper, raise your hand for conjugating. I don't think, if this is your first or second time, I don't think you have one.
Yeah, I need this.
So just take a look at that, and those are the rules that we are going by. And those online, you guys have the address to the Google Drive. It should be in the first week, maybe the first or second class period, but it's also in module 1. I gave you the Google link for module 1 and module 2. So if you have any questions, feel free to call or email, and I can get that to you. And I can also show it at the end of class. All right, so that was walk it up. The first person, step by step. And then this is walk it up, second person. So if you look on your rules, the first person is I, second person is it's, and the third person is nothing. There's no person marker for the third person. So if you see on there, it will have open and close parentheses, and that's for when I was doing it, I wanted to make sure I didn't skip a step, but there is no third person marker. So walk it a second step. So you guys should have a paper. Walk it up to lie down. Look at your steps. First step is drop the ETV and you get your verb stem, walk. You also lengthen the final vowel. The only thing that changes from first, second, and third person is the person marker. So you add the second person marker with it, which means you, it. And then walkis, well, walkitskis, And then you add the es, am, are, is, walkitskis. You got your verb stem, you got your person marker, it's you, and then es, the declarative ending, so you walkitskis. You are lying down. So to me, it always got me excited to see what I was doing. So up at the very beginning, walk it up, lie down. And right here, you know what each part of this is. And I color coded it for everybody. That helps me to remember. So you get to see this is the verb stem, this is the person marker, and that's the ending. The declarative ending. Walk it. You are lying down. Right, and then the third person, like I said, the only step that changes is the person marker. So same steps, same exact steps. Walk it up to lie down. Then you drop the ETB, get your verb stem. Lengthen the final vowel, which is an A. And right here, you see in the notes, open and close parentheses, because there is no third person marker. Right here, add a person marker, no marker. Like I said, I wanted to make sure that I didn't skip a step. Right here, you add your es, and that's your declarative ending. Walkis. So you went from walk it up to lie down to you are lying down. He is lying down. She is lying down. So you've got your verb stem, your placeholder, no person marker. And like I said, I just show you guys this, but this is the final look of the word. Walkis. Means he, she, it, they are lying down. All right, I'm going to go over a few more. While you guys are at a stopping point, just go back there and grab one box and get yourself a cup and get what you want to drink. All right, and I'm going to keep teaching. Just it's the same thing. It's conjugating, but it's different words, so you can see the changes. If you have any questions,
verb is always first.
yes.
The noun.
Subject, subject, verb.
Subject.
Yes, subject, verb, because what are you talking about? You're talking about the farmer, the judge, subject, verb, or you can be talking about Iba, which is a dog, Iba, sitting, or something like that.
The subject verb.
And then the verb is always last. So whatever you conjugated will be last. Right. I'd like to show everybody the same thing, the same information in a different format, so you guys can see maybe one word, one way to show you guys where it's a little bit different. Do you have a question? Okay, so these are going to be some of the same things, but going in a different format, and it might resonate with you a little bit easier in a different format than another. That's why I present it in different ways. So yes. Because this should have a long marker. Lead this. Running, I am. Let's go to word lead fish. Literal translation is running, I am. English translation, and people say that Mvskoke is backwards, but if you look at it from the Mvskoke view, English is backwards. So I am running, and if we were talking about this in an online class, is that Yoda speaks more like our Mvskoke ways. Yoda, the way he speaks. Here it is, Thoskis. Remember the I with A sound, Thoskis. Jumping, I am. I like that this one thing is a complete sentence. For somebody who doesn't know Mvskoke, they're like, oh, it's a word. Well, actually, it's a sentence. Jumping, I am. And the cool thing that I like is now you know what each part of this means. So you don't have to rely on somebody to translate for you. Hey, that's I. It's talking about I. Oh, that's it. Talking about you. Or it doesn't have anything, so it's talking about third person. So Thoskis. Jumping, I am. Mvskoke word, Thoskis. Jumping, I am jumping. Right? I know we were talking about this in one of my other classes. I know if you know any Mvskoke people, any like elders, they like to pull your leg. They like to pull your leg a lot. So if you say, hey, what does this mean? Oh, you're eating. You know, oh, he's eating. You're like, is this really what it means? What part of it, you know? And I'm always the one that would ask the question, what part of, you know, I'm eating or he is eating or, oh, it's eating. Yeah, I want to know exactly what it says. So, I was talking to one of the cultural people, and we were talking about one of the books. And he said, oh, yeah, you can read this. And it was like the stories of Mvskoke. And he's like, you can read this, but just remember, you know, he was saying these stories, but while he was saying these stories, he was adding on to the story because the person that was writing these stories down was not native, so he was pulling his leg. So he's like, you just have to remember. And he was telling a non-native some of our native stories, but then he would just kind of stretch it a little bit more. I was like, okay, yeah. Like I said, some of our native people, they've got a sense of humor and they're always teasing. Oh, whoopty, you know, and they would just, whoopty. And I was, it doesn't matter how old I am, you know, because I'm still whoopty. So, you know, with our people comes a lot of personality and joking and teasing, but at the same time, it's a lot of strength because it makes you laugh. Sometimes my uncle would laugh at some of those times when you feel like you want to cry. And instead of crying, I think a lot of our native people have to make themselves laugh. Yeah. And have to build each other up and build themselves up, you know, in their humor. You know, because when you're walking or when you're doing something, you just see the humor in it and start laughing. And I'll share a story with you, and it's the personal story. I was sitting there, and my mom, she passed in 2005, and I was sitting with her in the hospital. And she was laying there, it was a solemn moment. We were just like, you know, Mom, you know, she was hurting so bad. So she would get her little morphine button, and me and my son, my brother was just sitting there, and she'd wake up, she'd look around and go back to sleep. She did this a few times. And then woke up and did it again. I started laughing. And she was like, woke up and she looked at me like, what are you looking at? My brother looked at me like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, Mom, never in my life would I have thought I would be okay with seeing you get high in front of me. And I said, but I'm okay with it. But, you know, it's just our people seem to find the strength in the laughter. We don't want to cry all the time, but that was one thing that I was like, oh my gosh, if I ever write a book, I'm gonna have to write this. Because it was something which I was okay with her going to the next, you know, the next level or next part of her life because she was hurting so bad. And at that time, I did have to tell her, Mom, we're okay, just go, you know. But I will see her again. So one of the things that gets me excited about is to see my grandmother, my great grandmother, our ancestors, and be able to speak the language, even something simple, you know, something simple. Jay, you know, I know our language has progressed over time and changed over time, but this is something that you know that it's still there. In English, it's progressed and changed all the time. We don't say thou, or, you know, stuff like that. Okay, let's keep going. Second person, the Gitskis. Running, you are, and this is after we conjugated for second person. You see your verb stem, you see your person marker, and you see your declarative ending. Running, you are. So you were the Gitskis. Running, you are, literal translation. You are running. Right. Then Mvskake, which was Make sure I am. Skip. And if you need to break it down, if you need to get your pen and you need to break it down, skip. So, you got the skip. You can break it down anywhere that you need to break it down. You can even write your notes on the side. TAH, that can make you remember things. Write it down. You've got your notebooks, write it down. That's what I had to do. And when I taught in 2021, I had all these notes and it was all phonetically done, and I didn't want anybody to see my notes because I was like, I'm still learning Mvskoke. But now I can say, hey, you can learn like that, you can learn like that. And one thing that I had to remember is we learned English first. We have to flip to Mvskoke brain and a Mvskoke thinking. And until you get that done, until you get to that part, you're still the training wheels. I always tell people, we got the training wheels going, but we're still going forward. All right. Skip. Jumping, you are there. You are jumping. Let's go to the third person. Okay. So right here, remember, this is my place marker. This is my placeholder right here. There's nothing there. And you will see it in the final version right here. Skip. Jumping, he is. And you could put jumping, she is, jumping, they are, jumping, it is. And I was telling somebody, like, you don't really call the person it, but you could be talking about a dog or cat. Jumping, it is. It is jumping. Skip. Jumping, he is jumping. She is jumping. It is jumping. They are jumping. So you have a question? Okay.
So if you were going to say, I am Mvskoke, so after the last K is where you do put your question marker?
We're not talking about jumping, we're talking about I am Mvskoke. Yeah.
Because place markers is hard. So
And so you're trying to say I am Mvskoke. That's it. Because we're not conjugating anything.
only verbs.
This infinitive verbs.
Okay.
Now there's different verbs. But I'm trying to do the easiest one because I'm learning. Like I said, I'm still learning all of these ways, and you guys can get online and see the other Mvhayvs. Mvhayv Eli, she shows a lot of different ways to do things, and I'm still learning as well. And I ask her questions. Hey, Eli, how do you do this? But there is so much to learn in our language. This is only one small portion of it. But when you're talking about I am Mvskoke, you're not conjugating.
No, you're only conjugating. I get it. You're only conjugating the infinitive verb.
Right.
Okay.
Like that's good.
That's why I'm sure.
Right. And like I said, this is only, we're showing how to conjugate. So we're using sentences that conjugate. All right. Because we're not using like the question sentences or I am yet. That kind of thing. And one thing that we were talking about is language is a lifetime. I started my language journey in my late 40s. So I've got 40 plus years of English. So trying to switch to Mvskoke brain at an older age is hard. I'm not going to say it's impossible because our brains are awesome and exceptional. But you have to keep trying. Right? And the good thing is I can see my progress. And I don't know if anybody else can, but I get so excited. I tell my husband and my kids, like, I understand this now. It's just one little part of the whole thing. But I'm like, I understand this now. All right, so let me go ahead and go through some of our sentences here. that are also the conjugated sentences of our words that we had from module 1. I haven't made any new ones. And hopefully this works fine. Since we are kind of short on time, I will not repeat them, but you guys, I will plan, and hopefully the sounds are there today.
Sakonipki hayes. Kibala nizes. Justagi nizes. Saratako nizes. Mikoja nizes. Pagana nizes. Alozo hombes. Sukha hafi hombes. Aji hombes. Bathko hombes. Justly hombes. Yalaha hombes. Sadothgoma hombes.
You hear that richness in her voice, and just those little things that make it awesome. I mean, it's like, this isn't canned soup. This is just a whole homemade stew, soup, whatever. Just a bunch of flavor. I always talk about food. We all eat, we all have that in common. That was first person. And you can see that there's the IS at the end. I am doing something. IS, nieces. Remember the I got an A sound. A sound. Okay.
Sakonipki hayetskis. Kibala nizitskis. Justagi nizitskis. Sadafako nizitskis. Mikoja nizitskis. Pagana nizitskis. Aloso humbitskis. Sokhahavi humbitskis. Aji humbitskis. Bathko humbitskis. Justly humbitskis. Yalaha humbitskis. Sadafgoma humbitskis.
You see that's the second person because that's the it's in there. The first person has the I, so now we're second person. And then let's go to the third person. I can share this.
Sakonipki hayes. Kibala nizes. Justagi nizes. Sadatako nizes. Mitkoja nizes. Bagana nizes. Aloso hombis. Sukha happy hombis. Aji hombis. Basko hombis. Justly hombis. Yalaha hombis. Sadat-koma hombis.
I try to use all of our speakers because you can hear that they're different sounds. I like for everybody to hear what, when I talk to them, how they sound, and it's just, gets you so excited. I don't know. I get excited talking to them because I'll hear it in one way in my head because I kind of know how to sound it out. And then that just sounds kind of choppy. And like I said, I'm learning, so I'm choppy. But then when I go talk to them, it just sounds like chocolate. Talk about food, sounds like chocolate. Just get excited. But that is our conjugation. And like I said, I was going to show that to you. Because next week we are going to we're going to learn something new. I am not cooking. I was using that on my husband for a while when I learned that one. I am not cooking. So we're going to learn how not to do something. And one of the things that we did last week is I had put up a disclaimer saying that here's our vocabulary words for this module that we're using to make our sentences. I haven't made them yet. The sentences you guys have heard were from module 1. So we're gonna do something. I think I do have a printout on a couple of sentences. Yeah. So if you guys look at your printout, there are a couple of sentences like that we have gone over them already. I kind of got a little bit out of order, but this is the way I learned it. I know some of our other Mvhayvs teach it a little different, and we all can teach it a little different. The book that the Mvskoke Creek, the Black Book, yeah, is a book written by somebody who's not native. So he's got a lot of things in there that are more of a linguist way of doing it, and I've spoken to some of the other Mvhayvs. It goes along the way of our Mvskoke words and stuff, but it's not 100%. You know, because there's something that, you know, when somebody's studying our language or stuff, they don't understand that these little things are big things. Like I remember Mvhayv Barnett was talking about ma, yeah, yes, and all that. So some of these things, you know, somebody who's not native, they don't know that means something. Well, you know, yeah. So I think I was taught a little differently, but this is how it works for me. If it works for you, awesome. If some other way works for you differently, better, use that way. You know, as long as we can speak and we can talk and understand each other, that's the goal. Is however you can find that helps you learn the language, learn it. It makes it easier. You know, as long as we can speak together, and there are different dialects. Shissy, shishy, you know, mouse, owa, weewa, water. Just embrace what you learn, what your elders teach you and stuff, and there's no wrong way. I know I've seen somebody out there on YouTube saying, this is the only way. Yeah, right. You can say that about English, this is the only way. But then you go to England, we were in England, it's spelled tired, T-Y-R-E. Instead of T-I-R-E. So we can go over and say, you spelled it wrong. You don't tell the whole country. But you know, there's all these different ways, and that's what is in our disclaimer is we teach only one of many ways. All right. So does anybody have any questions? Did that help anybody? Did that make sense? Okay. All right, so sentence structure. Word order in the Mvskoke sentences may vary. And that's why I was telling you guys, this is one way that I learned that helped me when I was learning. Subject noun, and I was laughing, I was talking to one of the Mvhayvs. I haven't gotten back to sentence structure in years, you know, elementary school, high school. So, and I have a little bit of education behind me. And I know how to make a sentence, but I'm like, how to break it down. What's a verb? What's an adverb? What's a noun? You know, what's a dangling participle? You got me on that one. I have no clue. But I know how to write. You know, we are going to know how to speak, whether we know the names of things or not. But, you know, this is just something that I wanted to share. I'm not calling anything down because I had fresh on the noun and the adverb and all this stuff. I just knew how to write. All right, noun, subject, person or thing being discussed, described, or dealt with, person, place, thing, or idea, object, receipt, the action of the verb, the action that is being performed by the subject, the verb explains what the subject is doing, adjective, a word that describes the noun, adverb usually answers questions, how, where, when. The basic Mvskoke sentence structure, subject, object, verb. And then, let's see, yeah. In some Mvskoke sentences, the T will be added to the subject of the sentence. In some Mvskoke sentences, the N will be added to the object of the sentence. So I know I've seen some sentences that had the T and had the N. There's some questions on whether you actually need it or not. I've seen it both ways, and I'm still kind of in between because it made sense to me when I learned it. But I've seen it different ways. So just like Ivat, Poison aegis. The dog chases the cat. So when I was talking to one of the Mvhayvs, she said the T means the N means the. So Ivat, poison aegis. The dog chases the cat. You see subject, object, verb. So chases is the verb and it's conjugated to down. It's like the third person. Because there's no I and there's no it. So it, they, it, they. Okay. Add adjectives and adverbs to build extended sentences. Subject, verb, that's what we were going over. We were talking about that. I was doing the very, very basic of a sentence. Ibala and this. Strawberry, I am eating. I am eating a strawberry. That's how we've gotten to that. And that's why I wanted to show you guys that we are doing a very basic sentence. You can add on later on. I am eating the red strawberry. You know, I am eating the big strawberry, you know, or something like that. Right now, we're just going over the very, very basics. And so now you can know about conjugation. You look at this and you can see that I am eating a strawberry. Questions? Okay. I know that's a lot to take in, and I try to make it where it's not so much at once, because I remember when I was learning in college, we would go every single day, and she would just throw all this cool stuff at us, and I was like, yes, yes, and then after 30, 40 minutes, my mind's like, I'm done. Her mind was like, okay, I gotta stop. But then, you know, she would just keep going over it and going over the same thing we've already learned, and that helped to ingrain that into learning all of this. And so, like I said, I try to show you guys formats of different ways to see the breakdown when we do the conjugation. And those are our new conjugated words that were on the board earlier. And we're going to use that. If I give you, you know, to me, 8 seems fine. If I give you more than 8, you could be like, I've got 30 words I could conjugate. And we only meet a few times a week, not every day. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do it. I'll see if I can show you the words of the day. This is just a fun thing that I get to do. And let's see. Let's go through the whole thing.
Dasachaji, March.
So you can, if you guys don't have a Instagram and are excited about learning a little bit every day, I would say go ahead and get an Instagram. All right, I am still learning how to do this technology. So maybe. All right, I messed that one up. Okay, sometimes I have to get back in here. This board is set up a little different than what you used to in the office. And it looks like it's gone. Oh, here you go. So I'm going to try to get the Google Drive so I can share that with you since I'm here. Does anybody online have any questions? All right, there's the Google Drive for you guys online. If you guys want to come in and look at this at your time, that's the Google Drive.
Istihunanwa.
Saturday.
I didn't know what picture to use there, but I thought those pigeons looked like they were courting.
Hukti. Yeda. Kayeda.
There's some of our Mvhayvs there. This is our manager right here, Mvhayv Barnett and Mvhayv Grayson. I try to use native pictures because, you know, we're speaking native language, might as well use our pictures.
Kayeda. Igana.
That was in South Dakota. I took their pictures. I try to use recent pictures and, like I said, pictures of our native people and native places. We were over there by Crazy Horse Memorial, so I took that picture.
Legoshi.
Be easier and better.
Chutki. Adapta.
You thought Edgy was funny?
Hundida.
Then when you add it to a word like, Edgy,
Like UG in like SDG.
I think when you add that one to a word, it is small. But these are when we looked in the dictionary, they're just words. And if you look at the dictionary, some of them have more than one word.
Ayida.
So, like I said, these are our words of the day that we've had. And
Anajumi.
so all of these words culminate to show the tobacco story.
Imidiktan Nichida.
But it's 7:35, so let me go ahead. Do you guys want me to continue, or you guys want to just go to the end story? Go ahead and continue. Yeah. All right. Well, let me just go ahead and tell everybody on Zoom. Just wanted to say that, you know, these are on our Google Drive. I'm going to continue because people are here. I know that on Friday people have schedules, so I'm just going to say. Oh, I just missed it. I'll just say I'll see you next Friday, and if you guys are on Zoom, come Monday and Wednesday, and cheeky check off, please. That's it. I will see everyone later on Zoom. No. All right. Because cheeky check off, please. That means everybody. Yeah.